Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon to all the folks across the world. Thank you for joining the session with us. And today we are here really to talk about the ROI of the event. So when we think about is when it comes to the events, the most important thing about engaging your audience is really focused on how do we think about the ROI, but there are two things which we need to look at: the brand benefits and the financial return are really not mutually exclusive. So it's really important for us to think about what a return of investment for your events look like holistically. So we as an organization and my entire team from Women in Cloud is here. And we are looking at how we do the events and how we drive the ROI conversation. So as organizers and producers of events, for us, it's a very immersive activity which is really designed to build new and deepen the relationships, unlock economic access, and help our community to take collective action. So ROI for us is measured at multiple levels. So first is the brand value that we are creating, the people and the company representation that happens within our community and our events. We also focus on opportunity creation, is what are we creating opportunity for and for who? And then we also focus on the financials of it. So our measurement is really focused on a few things. One is the social sentiment that we are creating in the ecosystem. How are we driving our loyalty with our community and their contribution? How are they contributing easily for each other and for the brand itself? How are the companies represented? And what's the economic story that we are creating from our efforts and doing events? So when you are thinking about the ROI of the event, think about in the context of your brand. So if your brand is all about service, then you want to be at events that will help people service the people you want to serve. The best way to measure the brand value is to look at how much money you can raise and how fast you can raise it. So it's important to think about the ROI of any event. And also make sure that you're not spending money more than the event that's worth. So the way to measure the brand value and how fast you can raise money is also use the Pareto's principle. So the Pareto's principle is the idea that 80% of the results come from 20% of the effort. So I'm Chaitra Vedalapalli. I'm the co-founder and also president of Women in Cloud. So today I'm going to interview my team, my stellar Women in Cloud team, who have really, I would say, hosted the Women in Cloud Digital Summit, and it was attended by 2,500 attendees across 19 countries. We actually had over 250 speakers and 87 companies represented and pledged to drive economic access. And also we drove 1.5 million impressions on social. So it was beyond amazing in the midst of pandemic. So what I want to do is introduce all of them and have them introduce themselves. So it's very important for all of you to know them, because most of the people want to know, how did you do it? What it took to do it. So here is my team. So I would love to start with Erin. How about you start introducing yourself?
So I'm Erin Northern. I'm the partnership lead with Women in Cloud. I'm fairly new and very excited to be here today.
Samira.
Hi, I'm Samira. I lead the social media efforts for the Women in Cloud Digital Summit. And I have been associated with Women in Cloud for some time now, over a year. And I am also very excited to be here.
Perfect. Welcome. Raisa.
Hi, everyone. My name is Raisa Noel. I currently serve as the Global Program Events Lead for Women in Cloud, where I support the education program efforts, such as our Cloud Accelerator, along with all of our in-person, hybrid, and virtual event productions from end to end.
Perfect. I'm so excited to have all of you, because this is the first time I think we as a team are actually doing an event together. So I will actually start with an icebreaker with you. I think it'll be very exciting to hear. So to all of you, you can start in any order. So if you attend an event, what is the ROI that you're expecting when you attend any event, because you are spending your time, energy, and money. And so tell me how you think about the ROI as an attendee. Let's
I'm
start.
going first. All right.
Samira, why don't you start first?
Okay, so when I'm an attendee at an event, I think I look at value addition. Anything that will make an event worth it for me would be how much I'm getting out of it. If it's an upskilling session that I'm attending, if I'm walking away with a new skill, that's a value added. So value addition is, I think, key for me.
Erin.
Same. So value, engagement, how am I able to apply what I learned outside of the event? How often am I thinking about the event, right? That's the engagement piece is, are we going to an event and then just leaving it and not ever thinking about it again? So ROI for me is being able to take something away and incorporate it consistently.
I totally agree, Erin, as Samira. So what about you, Riza?
I think we all have a very similar view, but for myself, when I think about the ROI as an attendee, I want to have a transformative experience, and I want to walk away with clear actions and not just go to an event for an event's sake, right? So I want to understand when I'm walking in what my as is state is, and I want to leave with a different mindset.
Yeah, so same thing. I think all of you talked about it. For me personally, as an attendee, when I'm going, is can I see myself in that ecosystem? And can I collaborate with them? Can I network with them? Can I create opportunities with the attendees and the speakers who are there? And at the end of the day, can I belong there, right? And can I be there for a long term, or it is just for the sake of an event I am going? So all of you well said. So let's dig deep into it. So for all the attendees, if you're watching, if you have any questions, please take a moment to put your questions in the Q&A section. So Riza, I will start with you. We all know that events create infinite access to opportunities, and we believe that to the core. So to make that happen, we want agenda, the experience, and the speakers. They're all a crucial part of the event planning and execution. So can you enlighten the audience, how do you work with the entire team to put like a stellar digital summit or any Women in Cloud summit with limited budget and the highest ROI that we accomplish every time we do it? So go ahead and talk about that.
Absolutely. I think one of the things to think about, we've all transitioned to virtual, and thinking about virtual versus in-person events at first glance might feel very different. But when you're coming up with this strategy, I think it's important to work with a team and have others on your team that are excited about leaning in to new ideas, right? While you're thinking from start to finish, you want to make sure that you're focusing on setting real, clear expectations for all areas. Make sure that your team feels confident in what the message is going to be, and that we're all aligned. Make sure that your speakers are buy into the mission and the vision of your community. And then in turn, your attendees, volunteers, your community will all work together to make sure that the experience from start to finish is really something that can shine, right? So that's the first piece that I like to focus on how to bring it together. There are some tools that also really help you to make sure your outcome goes very well, right? So you need to do evaluation before you go live, right? Before you start promoting things. After the strategy, you need to think about technical aspects. Again, this applies to in-person or digital. So for example, with the Women in Cloud Summit, we did a number of reviews and things on different platforms that would work for the virtual space to make sure that our attendees, our speakers, our sponsors all felt like they were contributing and getting constantly being connected to the process. Again, not just showing up on the day of and then leaving and not walking away with anything else. So, for example, we used Remo platform for our virtual event experiences to create a sense of community and give that kind of in-person feel of moving around and meeting new people. In regards to speaker and agenda curation, Speaker Engage was really vital in navigating all of those tools and being able to work collaboratively with the team. For example, Erin works with sponsors. Samira works with digital engagement and social media. We're all able to go into the same hub and utilize that tool to keep things up to date and make sure that we're, again, continuing to be aligned. In regards to what's public facing, right? We used a tool called, we tried out a tool this time called Hey Summit, and did a couple of reviews on other platforms that may have worked. That gives us the capability to create a great landing page and easy to access public facing agenda. But the two most valuable things that I think really worked well this year is utilizing our digital network, which is hosted on Mighty Networks, to create a speaker portal and a sponsor portal and a volunteer portal, a hub of information, of a location where people can get information constantly with quick updates and easy to access information. And then our Kudo board. Our Kudo board was something new that was recommended to one of our founding members of Women in Cloud. And it served really as kind of a virtual greeting card and place where we can put quotes that really lit us up in the community and connect to other people. So I think that thinking of it from the 50,000 foot view, when you're coming up with your strategy, your tools, and your team, really makes it all come together quite well.
That's fantastic, Raisa, to kind of help everybody to really understand is, it's not just like I'm putting an event. You have to think about the overall narrative. The technology is very, very important in the virtual space because we are working in a distributed and remote concepts, right? The remote ways of working to make things happen. And also like focusing on the right content to really engage the people at the event. So that's fantastic. So Erin, you joined the team at the tail end of the summit, and you had to jump and manage lots of sponsors and our partners. The demand was amazing, but you had to really give as a red carpet experience. So tell us about that engagement. Is how did you go about managing the ROI with the team around the engagement? And how did you go about driving that red carpet experience?
I think communication is really important and making sure, I really tried to stay on top of the branding, and I think we did an excellent job with Remo and having the main sponsors. We had 14 of them. For the most part, they were all included on every single session, especially session sponsors. So I feel like for ROI, the sponsors were very happy with that. There wasn't any kind of negative feedback. They were really excited. They saw it was very obvious where their logo was. I think engaging them so they felt engaged the entire time. Communication is important, making sure we're following up and creating that conversation and that it's a continuous conversation post or prior to the summit and post summit as well. And then just being able to incorporate professional development and leadership involvement. So professional development, I think that a lot of people who had participated as speakers and mentors got a lot out of it. Some people maybe were apprehensive, and after being able to have a conversation with one of us, came into it a lot calmer and really excited. Especially the mentor piece was something that I think people overthought. And once they got some clarification, they realized that it was such a rewarding experience both ways. The way we explained it was excellent, and the video we included was great. As well as I think for the ROI social responsibility, right? So every company right now, a lot of companies are focusing on diversity and inclusion. And so Women in Cloud is such a great platform for these companies to be able to one, have this as part of their social responsibility, but have a platform to express it and speak about it, and to be able to become a part of this community, which I'm new to, but it's very passionate. And I think we all have the same vision and the same drive to keep going in the same direction, which is amazing. I don't feel like anybody within the community is going in different places. We're all going in the same direction, which is amazing. And we keep that very consistent on all of our platforms. And there's others too, like job recruitment. There are companies that was really important to. And there's definitely opportunity for us with that. I think Cloud Jobs Recruitment Lounge was an amazing session. And we definitely found that there were other sessions that intervened. So we took that advice, and with IWD, we're creating Cloud Jobs Recruitment Lounge again, but on a separate day with its own separate time, which is, I think, what it needed, right? Because we do want to create access for jobs, not just economic access. So I would love for that to be a continuous session and opportunity for people, and overall business growth and opportunity. So there's a lot of partner development pieces that are in here. So Cloud Exec Connect was huge. I think that's always with the sponsors or with people who we've worked with prior. A lot of the feedback I got is that they loved Cloud Exec Connect. That's all I heard about was last July in Cloud Exec Connect. And with our new Fortune 100 lunch series, they're sort of asking, is it similar to that, right? And so it is. And I said, yes, but it's dedicated. So that's a very exciting thing. I like that we took one idea and we're embracing that and expanding on it as well.
And Erin, from the way you engage the sponsors, they love it. So that is absolutely brilliant in making sure that their metrics are met in the work we do, because when you do is mutually beneficial metrics, which is the core metrics, what the company is trying to accomplish is making sure that people are developed so they can actually be high performing individuals in the company. That's good for the company and good for the people. Involving the leaders to have a voice and have their brand represented on a greater good. That's a great way of looking at how the company is representing and making a difference. A social responsibility, I agree, like UN goals was our key theme. And I have seen more and more company actually embracing one or many goals to drive the value. And absolutely the job recruitment or recruitment in general for whatever they're trying to do, making it easy for them has been absolutely beneficial. So thank you for bringing all the pieces together, for driving the ROI for them. When you drive ROI for them, we drive ROI for us too. And Samira, this is the one which I was so excited because the social media was on fire during the whole summit. 1.5 million earned impressions on social media. That is amazing. We didn't have to spend any advertising dollars, which is something like was amazing. Last year we did have to spend, this year we didn't have to. So tell us about how did you go about architecting the social media strategies and the ROI around the engagement, especially around the digital marketing? I think people will be curious to learn more about it.
Okay, so I'm also very excited to talk about this because so right off the bat, I want to start off saying that I think in the beginning we got very organized very quickly. So that helped us a lot. We had clear docs saying what each person's role and responsibility in the team is and who's supposed to do what timelines. So I think breaking down the summit itself in a pre-event phase, during the event and post-event phase helped us kind of keep an eye on the ball and not get overwhelmed with everything that was coming in. So we completely broke our strategy down to pieces. And even before the summit, right before we started strategizing, we broke down our event goals into digital marketing objectives, what it is that we're looking at on social media, and then parallelly drew up KPIs. What are the key performance indicators that we need to keep our eye out on? So beforehand, we knew what we need to do. If anything goes up or down, we knew where to come in and tweak things. So I think getting organized was a really good foresight that I think mostly Riza and a lot of the team contributed to. And then when we talk about strategy, we focused on word of mouth online marketing, because women in cloud community is a very engaged, active, loyal community. And we wanted to leverage that. We wanted to activate the community itself rather than spend bucks in advertising. So we took that idea and then we turned it into a whole social media strategy, and we started promoting the speakers that were involved. We started promoting the sponsors that were involved. So their branding was everywhere, their names were everywhere, the companies were everywhere. So we started creating a lot of shareable content. Rather than talking about what we are doing at the summit, we started talking about what they are doing at the summit. So that made it even more shareable. They started, sharing with their network. And here, I think I would like to deep dive into promo kits. So promo kits is something that we created for our speakers and our sponsors to push on their channels as well. So the execution becomes easier. But generally, how it goes is that your team is creating the promo kits. We're handing it off to the speaker management person. They're handing it off to the speaker or the sponsor, and they're giving it to their online team and pushing it out. So there's a lot of levels involved there. But we use Speaker Engage, and it has this amazing feature of social media and campaign management, which made our process so much more easier and efficient. All we had to do was upload the promo kits on the page and have the speakers click on share. And that's it. We cut down so many levels of communication in between. It saved us so much time, and things didn't slip through the cracks like they normally do. So I think big shout out to that feature in the Speaker Engage tool there. It saved us a lot of time. And then we were also constantly just tracking communication everywhere. We were looking at what people are saying online, what the social sentiment is, what the mood is. We were looking at what numbers are coming in, and we were constantly tweaking our strategy as we went about it. And it's I think we used quite a lot of tools for that as well. Of course, we plugged in a tool where we could see if the sentiment is positive or negative. We could see the media wall where people were publishing posts about about Women in Cloud Summit and how it looked overall. So it was a really good. It was really nice to see the impact that we were making as we went. So it was all happening in real time. So this was great. And the best part is that we didn't spend any advertising money. It was all community. It was all community engagement. It was just everybody in the Women in Cloud ecosystem engaging, and they were constantly engaged from the pre-summit phase, during the summit, and after the summit. We still have a lot of things going out on social media that people keep sharing, so it's been pretty great.
That's amazing, Samira, because the work that you did a couple of things. Is when the sponsors gave the investment for this one, we actually underwrote the tickets for people to come in. Like over 250 people were underwritten to experience this event because we didn't have to spend the money in the advertising. So having a good digital marketing experience is important, because you talked about is a shareable content. You are so correct, is you want to create shareable content that people want to share, instead of talking about how cool we are. That's not the intention. The goal is to create the real value. One of the things all of you talked about was organization came out as the top skill. So as you organize, and we as a team, we organize, how do you go about thinking about the ROI in your space, and how do you go plan about it? Because there's also a question on the chat right now saying is, can we get access to the ROI metrics? Absolutely, we will. And we will send right after the session. We'll tell you what are the metrics that we track, that you can also use it. So I will open it up from Erin, Samira, Riza. How about you? How do you go about it?
I think for the sponsor piece, what I found to be really awesome is that we had an idea of what we wanted with Women in Cloud, but I love in the conversation, Kai, that you would ask the sponsors what they want. Because every sponsor is different, every company is different, and while the mission stays the same, there's always these mini missions, right, that we're always trying to do, and with companies they change. Just like I think a lot of companies, like I said earlier, are focusing on diversity and inclusion. especially right now with what's going on in the world. I feel like that's a huge emphasis for everybody. So asking them what they want. And some, like I said, some people wanted job recruiting, some people wanted FaceTime, some people wanted just to be able to be there and be a part of it. So I think it's important to ask people, what is it that you want? What is your return of investment? And being able to incorporate the two and to be able to create a partnership, because that's what a partnership is. It isn't where you're telling someone what the partnership is, it's where you're creating it together.
That's great, Erin, is ask people what they want and deliver that. And the metrics are really designed. If you really look at Erin's scorecard metrics, you will be blown away as how she tracks all the details. And that's come back to organization piece and making sure every company involved in the process, their value is realized and the value is fulfilled through the pre-event, during event, and post-event, and the consistently values created throughout the year so that they feel like they're engaged in the journey. So Samira, what about you? How do you create the ROI metrics?
Well, like I said, because our entire campaign plan was around engaging our community, we wanted to look at how engaged they felt before the event and during the event. So engagement metrics were major on our list. Another thing was social sentiment. Like I said, we've been tracking the mood online, the things people are saying, what are the words they're using, are they using our hashtag or not, are they mentioning us or not. So those were, again, metrics that we were looking at, and we did get quite a lot of mentions, especially during the 3 days. I think just within the 3 days of the summit, we got over 350 mentions from the Women in Cloud community itself. So that was pretty good for the duration of the event. And another benchmark that we set for ourselves was that we want to perform better than last time. We wanted to grow in terms of bringing more members to the community and creating more engagement on social media, on the platforms we were engaging with them, and during the event as well. So mostly we looked at engaging our community, we looked at bringing in more loyal and active followers, and we looked at social sentiment.
And Samira, you're correct. Like even when I see from people coming from the social, which is not a managed ecosystem, to the online one, our online community, the engagement at any given time is anywhere from 50 to 70%. People are actively involved, they're engaging, the value of the content is given. So that is spectacular that you're looking from that perspective and that aspect of it. So if you need those metrics, we'll send it to you so you can also start thinking about how do you focus on social sentiment as a value, and there are multiple metrics that create the social sentiment. So going to Riza, what about you?
I would say that I think tying back to my initial remarks of really looking at the as is state and the to be state, right? So a lot of us think about ROI, and myself coming from event finance background, think about it just from the finance lens, right? But there's alternate views to use to approach when you're thinking about ROI. For example, thinking of the strategy, thinking of your outcome, thinking of tools, engagement, and growth, right? Addressing when you're thinking about all of these things in the event, strategy, technical production, creation, connecting with the community, you really have to focus on addressing the human aspect, right? With Women in Cloud Summit, we focused a lot on training and readiness and leaning into new. So sometimes there may be tools that are new to folks that they may be a little wary of or not as confident in experiencing. We made sure that our speakers were well prepared with orientation sessions. Our volunteers, we conducted a digital skilling course to make sure that they were ready to show up well in the online space. And when you look at that overarching view, I think the key things at the end when you're looking at that ROI is considering the global reach that you have. Some of my colleagues have also mentioned, thinking about that community loyalty. and the pipeline conversion, right? Because you want to keep people connected to your community and to your mission, and really being aligned to your message that you're sharing. So those are the things that I think of when I think about that.
Yeah, I love it that each one of you tracks so detailed, and the tracking was something I heard. When you have to track, you really need is the right tools. The tools are the key. And right now, with all the cloud tools available, we can track anything, anywhere. And so I want to talk about the tools piece. So this is open to all of you, is talk about the tools that you use for engagement, communications, and planning. And is there anything that you use that kind of help you accelerate the work? So, Raisa, I'll start with you because you use the maximum amount of tools on the Women in Cloud team, and probably the most advanced users of all technology. So, I'll start with you.
Thanks, Chai. I think that the tools that I used a lot, right? And this has grown over the years with these tools evolving. We mentioned Speaker Engage before, and it has really changed the way that our speaker curation, our sponsor curation, and our communications and agenda and social media. So those four areas, it has become night and day from going to thinking about it just from managing everything from spreadsheets, making sure that you have all of the content that you need, and working with a team that's global, right? We have people all over the place that are working on our team. So the tools, with particularly the ones that I really like, are making sure that the agenda features and scheduling features within Speaker Engage, the email notifications, bulk and one-to-one, requesting headshots and bios are a breeze. And you can see very easily what the completion of a speaker's profile is. I think that that's something I truly value as an event production lead, because it's just a hassle sometimes operating on something like that from spreadsheet space. And then Mighty Networks was another one I mentioned earlier, with utilizing those portals to share information very quickly and make sure that it's a hub of information, a private group where people can go and access the things that they need. That's where we also hosted our digital skilling course for our volunteers. And it allowed the speakers, the volunteers, the sponsors in their different groups to feel connected to each other as well. Not like they were just communicating with us, but they built up that sense of community within themselves, even before and after the event. So those are my top three things that I'm just obsessed with.
Yeah, and Raisa, you should talk about the Remo, because we changed the layouts, and that was the one which was a game changer for a lot of people. So talk about that, because that one came out of a simple conversation, and we changed the whole game plan for the summit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is one of the things that was very, very new for folks, right? In the digital age, everybody's used to attending meetings and events and webinars using the standard tools, standard view of, Zoom, Teams, Google Hangouts, for example. But with Remo, it allowed us to create unique floor plans. So you really feel like you are walking through a conference space. You're meeting with people and hopping from table to table to meet with new people. Erin mentioned earlier that it also has the capability to really showcase our sponsors on each of the floor plans as well. So that's a value add for them. And we could easily transition from networking mode into presentation mode and back and forth. So it really made a very highly active, and just seeing all the people move around this screen during the sessions was very exciting. Remo was a fantastic tool and a great partner of ours that I'm so glad that we started to work with.
Yeah, and my personal favorite is taking them from a networking space into the presentation mode in a virtual limousine. How cool that a concept is, but it was really spectacular. So Samira, what about you? How did you go about? I know you use a lot of tools and technologies, and you still use some of the, the Excel spreadsheets because you have to do it. There's not a single tool that brings everybody, but we have tried to automate as much as we can. So talk about yours, please.
So I've mentioned this before, but I'm going to mention it again, that Speaker Engage kind of saved our lives during this event, because social media planning and management and execution can become so hectic, especially for an event that is at the scale that we did, with 250 plus speakers, and everybody was in different locations, and the coordination. So I think it really kind of takes the cake for me, because it was not only about the promo kits and the social media management feature or the campaign management feature. It was, like Raisa said, that all the speaker profiles are present there. So when we base our strategy on promoting the speakers themselves and the sponsors, we need all that information, and we don't want to go back and forth between emails or Excel sheets. So having that clear view there, having the agenda there to see what session is happening when, so we can prioritize our marketing communication as well. So all of it kind of really tied it together well. And like, of course, you said we do have to use some sheets and docs here and there, and that really helped kind of pull the team integration part of it together. And of course, I'm gonna say there are a couple of tools that I use for analytics, and you can say Google Analytics for tracking the website, or Mention or Keyhole just to look at what people are saying online, or just simply even setting a Google alert for certain keywords and getting all that report in your email. So I think those are like really, really simple tools, and they add so much value to your work. So I think those are my top 5, I would say.
Yeah, first is I was very, very happy to see that this year nobody sent me their headshots in my inbox. There was zero. That one was a metric that I was measuring, is how many number of times that people are going to send me their headshot, and then I have to send it to the people. But that didn't happen. So that success was accomplished from that perspective. What about you, Erin? Well, you use a lot of the Excel spreadsheets and stuff, but what else did you use?
I think for my role, I did a lot of meetings. So having the Microsoft Teams and Zoom and Google Hangouts, and being able to utilize it, because a lot of times it's very hard to explain things through email, and it can get interpreted incorrectly, right? So I just made myself very available, especially the weeks prior to the summit, to people. So a lot of times I'd say, let's just chat for 15 minutes, especially when it came to the mentors understanding their role. So I think that that was a huge lifesaver for me and for them, and to get them engaged, because there are people that get nervous. And so I had a couple people that were like, oh, I don't think this is for me, right? I don't want to mentor. And then once we had the verbal conversation, and I think being able to see faces right now when we're in a time where we don't get to have that connection, it helps. And I was able to turn all of them back to wanting to do it and getting them excited. So the engagement piece and the emotion piece is really important. And I think that those tools are so great for that, as well as Speaker Engage was fantastic. And the idea to be able to communicate to thousands of people at one time, to track the sponsors, to track the contracts, to have a tool that everybody can access. And it's universal for all of us, once you upload it, it's there. And it's very user-friendly, right? So it's not a complicated tool. The sponsor portal, so Mighty Networks, was really neat to be able to utilize, especially prior to the event, and communicate with everybody, get them there to do the tech checks. It just sort of streamlined everything for us. And then Remo, especially, I think it was really interesting to have that conversation with Hoy and the CEO, how genuinely excited he was for our layouts. Like, I hadn't realized how far we took it. I just assumed that was normal. And then to have him see those layouts and just be genuinely shocked and excited and complimentary to our team, it just blew it out of the water for me, because then I think I realized the depth of what we took it to. which was really cool. So to have somebody who created the software and to turn around and say, I can't believe you took what I created and then created something even bigger and better, that I think that they were genuinely wanted to incorporate some of our layouts for themselves. So that was a really cool thing for me. I love that part of it.
Yeah, and Erin, we do. I agree with all the tools, but there were other two tools we definitely used. I think we do need to give a plug. One was Beautiful AI, one of my favorite tools of how we were able to kind of create all the presentations. In a distributed environment, we were all able to create that. And second is Canvas. So I don't think without these tools, we can actually do what we have done at the speed of execution because these are accessible. So, and I know all of you are here. We are another 20 minutes away from finishing this session. But if you have any question, please go ahead and put in there. So there are two questions that came in. First, which is, as a producer, what are the blind spots you have to manage with the virtual events? So what are the things that you're always, the blind spots that is there and you can see it, but others can. So what were those things that you had to manage, especially pre-event, during the event, and post-event?
So I'll start on this one. I think the blind spots that you have to keep in mind are thinking about, so if you start from pre-event, right? Thinking about the experience. We touched on this a little bit before. What if making sure things are accessible, because we live in a world that not everybody has the same access. We want to make sure that what we're putting out there is something that people can access, right? And making that really easy. Thinking from even the registration page, right? And making sure the speakers have their own way to get their complimentary passes to attend the event. And there's multiple layers to think about that. Even sponsoring access for folks. Another thing is, and I wouldn't really say that this is a blind spot because we had a very clear plan for this, backup plan in case of technology issues, right? So thinking within your core team, one, who's going to be the backup for whom, and making that very clearly defined, right? Thinking about with your top presentations, your live sessions, making sure that we mentioned this before, that your speakers show up well, they are prepared, but then also thinking about, what happens if in the programming somebody's internet goes down, right? Just making everybody feel comfortable that they are fully supported and there is a plan of action, right? I am guilty of the positive way of overthinking and trying to think of as many streams of what could happen. So, and then during the event, some of the blind spots I would say are access for attendees, right? So what we did, and this was a great recovery, that because we noticed during the first day of our summit, some people were having trouble getting access through the steps of getting to those sessions, the live or the pre-recorded. So what we did to resolve that is really sending out a consolidated, easy to follow URL hyperlinked list so people can access those sessions. And then post-event, thinking about, really recapping as a team. I think it's important to do a post-mortem. Sometimes we're all so excited and yay, it went off really awesome. And we just mark it off of our list and don't look back at what went well and what we can do better. So I think that is a very important spot where sometimes people neglect to focus on at the end. And I think it continues to keep your team engaged, and then also that community loyalty as well, to make sure you share your impact with everybody that was involved so they understand what went into it.
And you're correct, Raisa. Those are the blind spots because when you're running at 500 miles an hour and not able to see, I think as a team being aware and listening is a key. So kind of slow down a bit, listen to what is happening. And our recovery after the day one was fantastic because that drove a very significant engagement for the next few days. And that is what made it pretty spectacular. What about you, Stevia? I'm saying Samira and Erin.
I think a blind spot for any social media marketer would be that when you're working at a strategy level and then when you're executing it, there are a lot of levels involved in between. Sometimes you kind of spiral and you deep dive into creating the posts and pushing them out on time, making sure that the relevant people are involved, and if you're putting the right hashtags or not, that there is a risk of kind of losing a sense of priority and a sense of why you are doing this, what the entire goal for the event is, why you are creating so much content. So I think our team, the way we used to kind of check in with each other every day, and we'd have a status update, not just how we're doing work-wise and just like, how are you feeling? Are you feeling good? I remember every single call Chetra would ask, are you feeling good about this? So I think that really helped kind of pull us out of spirals if ever we went into that rabbit hole. So I think that was one risk that we were facing, but we did pretty well. We had Riza prioritizing things for us every day. We had Chetra checking in with us. The entire team was present every single day. So we avoided that, thankfully. And another thing that I feel like we would be a blind spot is our aesthetic. What we started off in the beginning was standardization and templatization. We made sure that everybody got visibility. Everybody involved in the event, in the community, got visibility. Any speaker, any sponsors. So right, we standardized everything. So big shout out to our design team everywhere. You guys really helped us a lot. So everything that was going out looked very cohesive. Every piece of content that we put out made the right impact that it was supposed to. So I think those were the key things to focus on for us.
Thanks, Samira. That I would say is, I remember the day when we were looking at all the social media copy and every message looked the same, if you remember, and we had to say, well, it's not working. We need to change and make it more personalized and bring the life of who this person is. And then that was a blind spot. We didn't realize is we were so involved in execution, but forgot about the mission itself. Yeah. So great corrections that we did together as a team. Erin, what about you?
I think a big blind spot for me was not knowing Remo, right? And virtual events being this very new thing. And our summit wasn't just any virtual event. It was pretty big. Like we went really big using the Remo platform. So when I started, I would get a lot of questions from sponsors like, well, what does this look like? And I had this sort of the same question, which I think once we had the tech checks and the other meetings, it all came together. It was a lot easier to explain, as well as I think it comforted the people who participated in those. Once you were there, you realized Remo is a very user-friendly platform. It's not overly complicated. But I think that was a blind spot for everybody, even the attendees, because you don't know what to expect if you haven't been on there before. But I think we did an excellent job of preparing everybody. And I think that the platform in general is like I said, user-friendly. So while there's probably apprehension, it quickly goes away once you're in there and you realize how easy it is to maneuver. And then I also think emails and communications tended to be a little bit of a blind spot sometimes, right? Because it being a virtual event, we're very reliant on that. And I felt like there was, and we discussed it, there was opportunity to either limit or even to streamline what those communications look like, because we felt at the end that there was information that got lost. So I think that what I love about our team is we're always willing to problem solve, right? So we present the problem and then we're all like, okay, what can we do to make it better? And then we just implement it right away. it's not like we have to come up with this plan. We're really good at executing and reorganizing.
Yeah, one of the things that I love about the team, we come up with a plan and then we cut the workload by 60% and saying, how can we make it very simple and easy to execute so we can do it in 30 minutes so we don't have to spend the entire team churning. So thanks for all of you for doing it. So Raisa, this probably is question 2. There are 2 questions which I have for you, and then we'll wrap it up. So the first question is, what were the considerations that went into event layouts? And the second is, what were the tactics that were used for speakers to get ready within that event layouts? And what did you do? Because they're all connected at the same time to create that experience that we wanted with our attendees. So that question is for you.
Thank you. So I would say when thinking about event layouts, think about the programming. What is the session about? What is the outcome you want to achieve? How do you want your attendees to connect? So in Remo, there's a capability that we mentioned earlier. There's that networking view and then the presentation view. So really what we're focusing on when we're thinking about the layouts is the networking piece. This is the time when people are going to be getting together, and we're trying to make it feel very much like an in-person experience. So, for example, we had when we had mentoring circles, we would have roundtables of 5 to 6. Maybe even up to 8, depending on what the session was, people at a round table, so they could meet in small groups and discuss a particular topic on unlocking economic access. They had each of our sessions had a space where people can go to meet with different speakers. So each speaker, each mentor, all had their own table in the floor plan, and then there was another type of experience, for example, our open networking lounge or our cloud jobs recruitment lounge. Those experiences, in addition as well to Rock Your Pitch, we identified that people really want to have those deep, intimate conversations. So one-to-one seating is best in those instances. And then So that's kind of the high level view of thinking about the floor plans. You also want to consider, how many floors are you going to make available in Remo, right? Or whatever tool that you're using. How many people are you expecting? But start on the experience of the session first, and then grow to what your goals are and your attendee goals and experiences there. Then to your other question, Chaitra, about the tactics that we use to get people ready, right? Particularly the speakers and the attendees and the volunteers, right? So because there are lots of people we have to get ready to actually be in this new space. So tactics that we utilized are hosting speaker orientations and tech checks, right? So the speaker orientation is really where we focus on making sure they're content ready, that they know, each speaker knows what the talking points are, what their specific focus points are, why were they even invited to speak on a particular panel, right? And then when you go to the tech checks, making sure that themselves, if they have a speaker manager, someone on their team, that they join a tech check to know what the login experience is going to be like, right? How do you turn on your mic and camera? We came up with a little slogan for everyone: mic on, camera on, mic off, camera off. And we got that hammered into everybody's brain. So they knew when we went into present mode, what to expect there. And they actually got a full understanding of what the visual is of the space when they actually click to go in. So because again, I mentioned before, people they have an expectation of things are going to be black and white, but we're trying to add a bit of pizzazz and color to it, right? Another thing is preparing speaker briefing documents. And that clearly outlines all of the talking points that speakers are going to need, the intention, easy access to any URLs, making sure that they have all of their calendar requests. Scheduling is another piece that is very important from end to end. And then finally, the technical scripts. So technical scripts from a readiness standpoint, you don't have to be overly complex with your technical script. Really, the intention of this is to make sure that folks know when they're expected to come to turn on their mic and camera, when slides would be shared on screen, what particular announcements are going to go out, when attendees are scheduled to join, when speakers are scheduled to join, when that networking time is going to be, and what that experience is going to look like. So I think when you consider those 4 areas, it's those are really great tactics to make sure that your speakers show up very well and are feeling very confident and prepared for the virtual experience.
And that was fantastic, Riza, to kind of talk about the tactics that we had to use and the considerations for the layout, because it was spectacular. And if any one of you actually want to experience it, I would say please join our community and get connected, because you will be experiencing that in every events that we do, because we did standardize our event stack and we are becoming experts in using our event stack. That is what made the virtual events so spectacular. So before we close that, I have is 30 seconds for all of you. Is there a wisdom and an insight you want to share with the audience as they are thinking about virtual events? From me, I would say be bold, go try something new. Even if you fail, it's okay. The community is very forgiving and they all understand that we are in pandemic. So Erin, any wisdom for the audience there who are listening today?
I think just being receptive to feedback, right? So team feedback, audience feedback, and incorporating it and moving forward.
Perfect. Samira?
I think try new tools that they can make or break your event, and hopefully they make your event. And we tried on a lot of new things this time, and it worked out really well for us. So be open to trying new things.
Thank you, Samira. Raisa?
I got some great words of wisdom that I'm from some lovely ladies that I'm going to share with you all. And they told me to be a tree. So be a tree, meaning that, not be too rigid. Things are going to change, and be open to change. Lean into that change. And even though your first reaction may be, no, I've already done this, think about why you're doing this. Allow people to dream and shift with the moving winds. Just be a tree.
Thank you, Raisa, Stevia, Erin. What a fantastic and enlightening conversation. And I'm actually very lucky to be working with all of you every single day as we create $1 billion in economic access for women. So here's what I learned from all of you. One is making sure that we are creating strategic value creation for our audience. That is making sure we are providing learning moments as well as networking moments so that can advance their growth and also help them achieve their North Star goals. Make the events fun, entertaining, and fast flowing. So there's lots of things that are happening. So engaging with a lot of speakers and mentors to create that infinite access and value is very important. Organization and automation was one thing that was a consistent theme that I heard from all of you, to really realize the value, especially the ROI. I would say it's more about a brand promise and how you make it realize the value for your attendees. So focus on that. With that, we are like literally another 30 seconds, but here's some opportunities for you to really engage with us. One is on our digital network, which I'll share it in the announcement. Please go and sign up. On March 4th, we are actually going to have another Bright Talk conversation on how to automate your virtual events for lead generation and also for opportunity creation, especially when you are partnering with brands like Microsoft, Amazon, Google. How do you think about virtual events and what does that automation looks like? And we'll have Gail and Blake join me on that. On March 11th and 12th, we want all of you to join the International Women's Day experience. So you get to actually experience what we talked about in real time, so which is pretty spectacular. And the layouts are pretty cool. You get to really interact. And we also have tweaked a lot based on the feedback that the community shared from our digital summit. And the last one we talked about was automating your planning and communication. So Speaker Engage was, to be transparent, it was developed from our work, and that product is now commercially available. So it really helps you transform your event planning, curation, and execution with speakers, sponsors, and a community. So for the limited time, you and your team can grab the Speaker Engage for the entire year with a $99 promotion that is brought to you by AppSumo. And the last one is Erin has actually curated $5,000 value of software benefits from Canva, Beautiful AI, Remo, and others. And if you are really excited to get access to that one, please join our online community. And again, thank you all for doing what you do and creating the best experience for our community to really drive the movement of economic access for women in the tech industry. So fantastic work, ladies. Thank you so much for being here and also sharing all the insights of how to host a spectacular event. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you too.